Think of the last time you completely lost it. But you almost certainly weren't reacting to a joke. Not a polite chuckle. The kind of laugh that folds you in half, steals your breath, leaves your face aching. Nobody set up a punchline. Somebody just said, "I'll see you later," or slipped on a wet floor, and your body did the rest. We think laughing is our reaction to funny things. Mostly, it isn't. Laughing is a reflex older than our species, older than language, older than the human face itself, and it was running for millions of years before anyone wrote down a single joke. The oldest joke we can prove ever existed is 4,000 years old, and it's a fart joke. But the thing inside you that laughs at it has been waiting far, far longer. So let's pull apart two things we always jam together. There's the joke, the little crafted machine, with a setup, a turn, and a punchline. And there's the laugh, the sound and the spasm your body makes. We assume they were born as a pair. They weren't. One of them is ancient hardware, the other is recent software, and it showed up shockingly late in the story. We get the order backwards too. We assume we laugh because things are funny. The truth runs the other way. We invent funny things because we already laugh. Start with your own body, because that part is settled. In the 1990s, a neuroscientist named Robert Provine, at the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, got tired of studying laughter in a lab, so he did something simpler. He sent students out into shopping malls and cafeterias and onto sidewalks to eavesdrop. They logged 1,200 real laughs in the wild. Who laughed, and exactly what was said in the second before. When he published it all in his 2000 book, Laughter, A Scientific Investigation, the numbers were almost embarrassing. Fewer than 1 in 5 of those laughs followed anything you could call a joke. The lines that actually set people off were things like, "Are you sure?" and "I'll see you guys later." They weren't laughing at wit. They were laughing to say, "I'm with you." In fact, Provine calculated you're about 30 times more likely to laugh in company than when you're alone. Sit with that. A laugh track works on exactly this trick. It tells a room full of nobody when to find something funny. And it works because laughter is contagious. And it's contagious because it was never built to be done alone. Two more things he found. The person doing the talking usually laughs more than the people listening, and the laugh almost always lands at the end of a sentence, like punctuation, never in the middle. That's not a review of the comedy. That's a social signal, running on rails. Need proof that laughter can run entirely on its own, with no joke anywhere in sight? In 1962, at a girls' boarding school in the village of Kashasha, in what's now Tanzania, 3 students started laughing and couldn't stop. It spread. Within weeks it had jumped from girl to girl, then to neighboring schools, then to whole villages, eventually touching around 1,000 people and forcing 14 schools to close their doors. It rolled on, in waves, for a year and a half. And here's the part that matters. Nothing was funny. The researchers who studied it concluded it was stress and social contagion, not comedy, laughter behaving like a virus, passing from person to person with no punchline involved at all. There's a deeper tell hidden in your face, and it was found more than a century before Provine. In 1862, a French physician named Guillaume Duchenne sat in Paris running mild electric currents through people's facial muscles, mapping which wire pulled which expression. He noticed something that still holds up. There are 2 different smiles, and, it turns out, 2 different laughs. One uses only the muscles around your mouth. You can switch that one on at will, for a camera, for a boss you can't stand. The real one also tightens the ring of muscle around your eyes. And Duchenne found that second muscle barely obeys your will at all. It fires on its own, only when the feeling is real. So the honest laugh, the one you genuinely cannot fake, is wired in underneath your conscious control. That's not a performance. That's ancient plumbing. Now drop further down the tree, past humans altogether. In the late 1990s, a neuroscientist named Jaak Panksepp, then at Bowling Green State University, started tickling rats. It sounds like a punchline itself. It wasn't. When you tickle a young rat, on the belly, on the nape of the neck, it lets out a burst of high chirps at around 50 kilohertz, far above anything your ears can pick up. Slow those chirps down, and they sound unnervingly like giggling. In a 2003 paper with Jeffrey Bergdorf, with the wonderfully cautious title, Laughing Rats and the Evolutionary Antecedents of Human Joy, Panksepp showed the chirping more than doubled during tickling. And here's the part that got him mocked and then vindicated. The rats came back for more. They chased the hand. They ran mazes and pressed levers just to earn another tickle. The youngest ones were the most ticklish, exactly like human children, and the rats that got tickled most seemed to bond to the very hand that did it. A rat has a ticklish spot, and it wants you to find it. Here's where it gets genuinely eerie, because you can actually build a family tree out of laughter. In 2009, a zoologist named Marina Davila-Ross at the University of Portsmouth recorded the sounds baby orangutans, gorillas, chimpanzees, bonobos, and one siamang make when they're tickled, right alongside the giggles of human infants. Then she treated those sounds like genetic data and ran them through the same analysis biologists use to reconstruct lineages. The tree the laughter gave her matched the known genetic tree of the great apes almost perfectly. Her conclusion, in the journal Current Biology, laughter is a single inherited trait that runs all the way back to the last common ancestor of humans and the other great apes, somewhere between 10 and 16 million years ago. That original laugh was noisier and rougher than yours. Your version, breathy and voiced, the neat ha-ha-ha, only sharpened up in the last 5 million years, after our line broke away from the chimpanzees. So sit with that timeline, 10 to 16 million years of laughter, and in all that time, not one joke. Because a joke needs something no rat and no ape ever had: language. A setup and a punchline require words, shared expectations, a rug you can yank out from under someone at the last second. Laughter is the machine. The joke is a very particular fuel, and we couldn't refine it until we could talk. So when does the joke finally arrive? For that you have to wait for writing, and then dig. In 2008, a British TV channel asked a scholar named Dr. Paul MacDonald at the University of Wolverhampton to find the oldest recorded joke in human history. He set one strict rule: it had to have a clear setup and a punchline. Real joke architecture, not just a funny line. The winner he pulled from the record is a Sumerian line from around 1900 BC, pressed into wet clay in a language that's been dead for thousands of years. Translated, it reads, "Something which has never occurred since time immemorial. A young woman did not fart in her husband's lap." That's it. That is humanity's oldest surviving joke. Thousands of years of civilization, and the thing at the very bottom of the stack is a fart gag about a bride. This is where the trail gets richer, because the runner-up is arguably better. Down in Egypt, in a text called the Westcar Papyrus, there's a joke built around King Snofru, a real pharaoh, who ruled around 2600 BC. The king is bored out of his skull. His advisor offers a cure: load a boat with beautiful young women wearing nothing but fishing nets, and send the king out fishing. A pharaoh, a boat, and a punchline about what he's really hoping to catch. The papyrus itself was copied out centuries later, but the gag is set in the court of a king who lived earlier still. Written down thousands of years ago, and you got it instantly, no footnotes required. And this is the part almost nobody talks about: how little the joke has actually changed. Jump ahead to the Philogelos. The name means the laughter lover, a Greek joke book put together around the 4th or 5th century AD. It's the oldest joke collection that survives intact. 265 of them, many aimed at a stock character called the Scholasticos, the clueless egghead, the ancient world's absent-minded professor. And tucked inside is this one: a man buys a slave, who promptly drops dead. Furious, he storms back to the seller, who just shrugs and says, "When he was with me, he never did any such thing." If your mind went straight to a certain pet shop and a certain dead Norwegian blue parrot, you're right. That is the skeleton of Monty Python's Dead Parrot sketch, sitting in a Greek manuscript over 1,600 years old. Comedians who've staged the Philogelos for modern crowds keep finding jokes that still land. Now, the honest caution, because the people who study this insist on it. We cannot actually prove the Sumerians laughed at their fart joke. Humor is the first thing lost in translation, and Sumerian is a dead language whose nuances are gone. MacDonald chose that line because it has the shape of a joke, setup, and snap, not because we can hear a room laughing 4,000 years ago. Some scholars argue a proverb isn't really a joke at all, and they've got a point. Even the animal side has its skeptics, who warn that a chirping rat isn't necessarily feeling what a giggling child feels. What we can say is narrower and stranger. The structure of the joke, that little setup and snap machine, is at least 4,000 years old, and the laughter it's designed to trigger is millions of years older than that. Which points to the reframe this whole trail has been circling. We did not invent laughter. We inherited it. From tickled apes, from something further back still that the giggling rats keep hinting at. For 10 million years and more, that reflex existed with nothing clever to attach itself to. It bonded groups. It said, "You're safe. We're only playing. Stay close." And then, only in the last eye blink of that timeline, we grew language. And language finally handed laughter a target it could aim at on purpose. The joke isn't the origin of our laughter. The joke is the youngest thing in the entire story. It's a 4,000-year-old app running on 15-million-year-old hardware. So lay it out end to end. Somewhere past 10 million years ago, the shared ancestor of apes and humans already laughed when tickled. Davila-Ross read it straight out of the sound in 2009. The wiring runs so deep that even rats have it, chirping for one more go. Our own honest laugh, as Duchenne showed back in 1862, fires below conscious control. Most of the time, as Provine proved in 2000, we aren't laughing at anything funny at all. We're laughing to belong. And only at the very end, around 1900 BC in Sumer, then in Snowfru's Egypt, then in that battered Greek joke book, did we start building things designed to trip the ancient switch on purpose. So the next time something truly gets you, the helpless kind, the kind that actually hurts, notice what's really going on. That isn't your sense of humor being clever. That's a reflex 10 to 16 million years old, one you share with a tickled chimp and, faintly, with a giggling rat, going off exactly as it always has. The jokes are new. The oldest clay is 4,000 years old, but the laugh is close to eternal. And it was never really about the punchline. It was about the fact that, in that moment, you weren't laughing alone. All the research is linked in the description.